Welcome to the NAP, the no answer period, where we cover the question period. Before we get to that, for the next half hour, I'll be showing you some videos. And then at 1:30 at 1:30, we will go straight into the intro video for today. And after that, we will get into covering the evil that has beset our land prior to question period, which will usually start a little later. Parliament is sitting at 2 o'clock today. Question period is slated for quarter after. It's always going to run a little later, usually a little later on Wednesdays because statements by members run a little longer. So let's get into our first video, and that will be an old intro video from the 27th of October. Enjoy.
Suffering with an affordability crisis that's been fueled by higher taxes under these Liberals and inflationary policies that have driven food prices up at the grocery store. He's telling young Canadians they need to make sacrifices. When is he going to deliver on his promise with its
Mr. Speaker, one thing we know about the Conservatives is that they don't know shame. You know what?
Today from the Prime Minister really freaked these Conservatives out because they saw the ambition in that speech. And not only did they see it in that speech today, as the Prime Minister stood with the Premier, investing in new nuclear to ensure the jobs of today and the future, they know that the youth...
Speaker, we will take no lessons from these Conservatives. Trust me on that, Mr. Speaker.
It is too bad that minister didn't write the Prime Minister's speech yesterday, because it wouldn't have bored and depressed to tears all of those poor students stuck in that room. There he spoke about how they would have to sacrifice more and that it would take time to reverse all of the misery that has built up over the last 10 years. Mr. Speaker, young people want to have homes. They want to have jobs. They want to have hope. They want a budget that is affordable so they can have a life that is affordable. Will the Prime Minister introduce that budget so that Canadians can restore the promise of the country?
People in Canada know that this government has their back. It's going to be a powerful statement for the young people of Canada.
Driving inflation. The more Liberals spend, the more it costs Canadians at the grocery store. 25% of Canadians are using food banks because they can't afford to eat. So when will the Prime Minister finally get his inflationary deficits under control so Canadians can put food on the table?
Mr. Speaker, Conservative members pretend to care about food insecurity, but then they call feeding children garbage.
Mr. Speaker, what's garbage was that answer?
Canada's economy is in fact growing, Mr. Speaker.
Is another video from me back in late September.
Whether you think my work is right, whether you believe that I have been diligent, that I have worked, that I have dedicated myself to you over the years, that I have used my time decently in the service of my people. Cast your vote now. If so, then stand up for me, just as I stood up for you.
In the White House, Mr. Speaker, Canadians will not accept anything but standing foursquare behind our Prime Minister, this government, as we... You know what Canadians feel when they see the Prime Minister and ministers in the Oval Office defending Canada? Mr. Speaker, they feel pride. They feel pride that this Prime Minister is standing up for our country, standing up for our workers, standing up for our steel industry, and these crazy hair-eyed schemes that the Leader of the Opposition comes up with just to get in the news cycle are quite frankly a little embarrassing.
Wir wollen ein Volk sein. Wir wollen einst ein Reich sehen. Wir wollen, dass dieses Volk einst gehorsam ist. Und ihr müsst euch in den Gehorsam üben.
Well, Mr. Speaker, after this entire question period, Canadians can be forgiven for thinking that it takes these Conservatives a little long to get out of their seat when it comes to defending this country.
That's right.
It looks a little too sneakily much like these Conservatives are happy to see a tough negotiation in the White House. Mr. Speaker, Canadians will not accept anything but standing foursquare behind our Prime Minister, this government, as we take Canada's hopes, Canada's dreams to Washington and get the best deal possible. That's what we'll be doing, and the Conservatives should not look like they're celebrating anything else.
The honourable member for...
This member just told me that I should tell her that she should enroll back in grade school so that she can take advantage of this government's bureaucratic school program. That's what this member just told me. Is he for real? Is he for real?
If you're just tuning in now, I'm just showing some videos before we start at 1:30, where we will start with the intro for today's show. Thank you all for coming out.
That's thousands of dollars for many Canadians, including the Canada Child Benefit, the GST rebate, the disability benefit, and many other benefits that Canadians will be able to take advantage of because of this government.
We know that every dollar that this Prime Minister spends, it drives up inflation, which increases the cost of living for Canadians. He said he'd be judged by the prices at the grocery store. Well, the report card is in and it's a big F, failure. I'm talking about Susie in my riding. She's a senior and she's finding it difficult to be able to afford both rent and groceries. She's worked hard her entire life to make a go of it, and she's been rather successful until now. Now she's in this position where she's actually having to choose to get meals to be able to pay her rent. That's not right. We live in just one world under like...
The Honourable Parliamentary Secretary to the Minister of Finance.
good news for Susie and that member's riding, and good news for all Canadians. This morning, our Prime Minister announced a package of more affordability measures, including an extension and making of permanence of the National School Food Program, which is great news for all Canadians. This is a program that feeds 400,000 more kids per year. I know the member opposite has voted against this program in the past, but I can't understand how she can stand up here and try to lecture the Liberal Party on standing up for Canadians on affordability.
The Honourable Member for Lethbridge.
This member just told me that I should go back to my riding and tell Susie, a senior in my riding who has worked hard her entire life to be able to make ends meet, now can't pay for rent and groceries, therefore is skipping meals. This member just told me that I should tell her that she should enroll back in grade school so that she can take advantage of this government's bureaucratic school program. That's what this member just told me. Is he for real? Is he for real? If this is the definition of success, I'd hate to see the definition of failure.
The Honourable Parliamentary Secretary and Minister of Finance.
To clarify to the member opposite, there's a package of 3 affordability measures, and one includes automatic tax filing, which will help millions of Canadians, including seniors, to access benefits to which they're entitled. That's thousands of dollars for many Canadians, including the Canada Child Benefit, the GST rebate, the disability benefit, and many other benefits that Canadians will be able to take advantage of because of this government's actions. Automatic tax filing will make it easier for Canadians all across this country to access the benefits.
Maybe this time with the mic on. We're just showing some videos prior to the show starting at 1:30. Please enjoy. We'll be back at 1:30 with the start of the video for today. There will be a countdown starting in a couple of minutes.
London in recent days, we've been meeting with lots of business leaders and CEOs. For the most part, we don't know who those people are. Can you tell us who those people are? And will you commit that your office share who you meet with at a business level?
Yeah, I think we share broad. It's a good question. Actually, don't know what we share, to be honest. I mean, I was asking.
Can you tell us a few of the people you've met?
We met today with a number of infrastructure, basically infrastructure type investors, so people who have global capital invest around the world, largely in infrastructure projects. And the sense that what I was looking for was partly obviously to tell the story of what we're doing in Canada, major projects, improving the tax system, moving forward fiscal responsibility, but also to hear from them perceptions of Canada, where they're investing elsewhere, what's driving their investment, what are the major themes, so that we're setting up the right partnerships for the country.
Probably the scariest open letter I've ever seen written to a prime minister. And originally I thought it was fake, and I looked it up, I pulled it up, and it's 100% legit. Watch this. Unfortunately, the picture cut it off, but this is on the Enbridge website. and it's called Build Canada Now, an open letter to the Prime Minister of Canada. And it literally starts off by saying that the national economy is moving in the wrong direction and Canadians deserve prosperity, not uncertainty. And this is where it gets crazy. They literally spelled out a plan for Mark Carney on what they call urgent action that is needed now. And they outline everything from simplify regulations, commit to firm deadlines, grow production, attract investment, and incent Indigenous co-investment opportunities. Just wait until the end, you will see how many CEOs have signed this letter. It wasn't just one. But they say this is a call to action that is urgent, and that there's persistent indicators that Canada is moving in the wrong direction. We need to improve productivity to create jobs, and it requires swift and decisive action. In other words, not taking the summer off like they did. And I'll refer to this as CEO speak. That is basically a backhand. Given your background, that's in being in investment banking, being at Brookfield, being in Goldman Sachs, and being the Governor General for the Bank of Canada and the Bank of England, you understand that the private sector and public markets require clarity and certainty to make long-term investments necessary to realizing this sector's potential. They're basically telling him, you know this, you know better, you have not taken decisive action. And these are all the signatures. These are some of the biggest companies in Canada. And it literally goes on and on and on. No matter how fast I scrolled, the list just kept growing bigger and bigger. This to me is the canary in the coal mine moment, where you have some of the biggest leaders, not just in Canada, but in the world telling you, we're headed in the wrong direction, you know better, we need to take swift and urgent action now. They even laid out a plan of what the government needs to do. Did you notice in that plan, they didn't mention government subsidies? There was nothing about free money from the government, from our tax dollars. Look at what their top two asks are. Simplify regulations. Get rid of the red tape. Commit to firm deadlines. Do your job on time. Then once you have that, you will grow production, will attract more investment, and let's get the Indigenous First Nations people to co-invest in these opportunities. They just gave the Liberal Party a blueprint.
Recently, the Prime Minister, our jet-setting Prime Minister, in his trips to New York City and London, England, met with several prominent business as well as investment leaders. When he was asked on the weekend who he met with, the Prime Minister refused to say. He refused to be transparent. He merely said he met with, quote, investment-type investors, close quote. Quote, people who have global capital, close quote. And then he said, we'll need significant capital in respect of certain unnamed and unspecified projects. Now, we know that there has never been a Prime Minister with more potential conflicts of interest than this Prime Minister. We have never had a Prime Minister with an ethics screen as vast as the one that is imposed on this Prime Minister in light of those multitude of potential conflicts of interest. And we know that this so-called ethics screen has no mechanisms to ensure that there are checks and balances to see that it in fact is being triggered when it ought to be. Instead, we are left to simply trust the Prime Minister's Chief of Staff and the Clerk of the Privy Council, who serve at the pleasure of the Prime Minister and answer to the Prime Minister, and who are therefore not independent. That simply isn't good enough to simply say we're going to trust them, because, frankly, we don't know whether the ethics screen should have been triggered. We don't know if what was discussed, whether the Prime Minister stands in any way to personally benefit from any discussions, any decisions that might be in the process of being made arising from the discussions that he had in London and New York. And we know that despite the fact that the Prime Minister is subject to this ethics screen, he may make decisions that he stands to personally benefit from. I say at the very least, well, that's unacceptable, and there needs to be, in the face of that, at the very least, some level of transparency. Canadians deserve to know who the Prime Minister is meeting with, why he was meeting with them, and they need to have the assurance that this very flimsy ethics screen is, at the very least, being triggered when it ought to be. And the Prime Minister has provided no answers to any of those questions. And so, with that, I would put on notice the following motion, that having regard for the fact that the Prime Minister met with several business as well as investment leaders in his recent trips to New York City, New York, and London, England, and the Prime Minister has refused to disclose which individuals and/or entities he met with during those trips, and is subject, pursuant to the Conflict of Interest Act, to an ethics screen intended to prevent him from making decisions related to 103 companies that would place him in a conflict of interest, the committee order from the Prime Minister's office production of records which comprehensively list each individual and, if applicable, the name of which entity, corporation, organization, and/or agency they represented and their job title that was present in a meeting with the Prime Minister, the time and date at which those meetings took place, and what was discussed in those meetings from and including September 21, 2025 to and including September 28, 2025, and that these records be deposited with the clerk of the committee in both official languages no later than 1 week following the adoption of this motion.
Do we really need as many different codes as we have? I mean, subtly, there are many different interpretations that distinguish the various codes from one another. This lends itself to confusion, which is perpetuated by a dueling banjos of rules for parliamentarians interpreted by different officers of Parliament. Having a consistent set of rules will help build a more consistent culture around what a conflict of interest is or is not. I have a personal pet peeve about a separate set of conflict of interest rules created by the Lobbying Commissioner, but that is a study of a different act for a different day. Speaking of which, I think all post-employment limitations should be placed in one act. You may know that there are post-employment obligations that are found in the Lobbying Act. I also don't like those limitations because they treat all designated public office holders as one giant class, which they are not. Certain aspects of those rules came to be after an order in council, which might not have been as legal as we would like. Please ask me about that. Fourth, I think that there should be clarity on the ability of members to advocate on behalf of their constituents. There is a statutory limitation on improperly, in quotes, using one's office to advance a private interest. But that is not necessarily the case for individuals who become parliamentary secretaries or ministers. I would refer to you the Commissioner's own guidance, which precludes you from, quote unquote, using your position to influence a decision to further a private interest. Advocating on behalf of a constituent's private interest should never be seen as creating a conflict. The technical language of that document needs to reflect the statutory term improperly influence. It should never be improper to advance.
Well, Mr. Chair, I think if we are being honest with ourselves here, this motion is about grandstanding at this point in time, that the motion to basically have more information about the super secret meetings that have been disclosed and the people that the Prime Minister met with that are public knowledge and on the public record now. This doesn't seem to be a particularly good use of the committee's time, but the fact that these meetings have already been disclosed, the fact that we have lists in front of us of the people that the Prime Minister met with, I think it should be within the prerogative of this committee to focus on work that will advance our understanding of access to information and ethics rather than the grandstanding that we're seeing here.
Of companies or individuals that were disclosed, we don't know if it's the full list, and it wasn't proactively disclosed. If I'm not mistaken, it was only released after media questions and after Mr. Cooper moved the motion at committee. So this is a matter where we're dragging, kicking and screaming a prime minister. And look, this isn't my first day. I've been here for a few years, and just the existence of the rules has not been demonstrated to be enough for Liberal ministers and Liberal prime ministers to follow them. Justin Trudeau was a serial ethical lawbreaker, time and time again. And ministers in his cabinet, some of those ministers who broke ethics laws are still in the Liberal cabinet. So you'll have to excuse us if we just can't say, my goodness, this is so unbelievable. The Conservatives are doing politics here, and they're just not taking the right honourable Prime Minister at his word. Why would we? We haven't been given any reason to. Unfortunately, we have to force disclosure from the Prime Minister.
What I'm hearing from my colleague opposite is actually an undermining of that framework, because he suggests that it is this committee's role to ensure that members go above and beyond, that in some ways they take it under their own advisement as to what are the rules that they should follow. Not the rules that are on the books, not the rules that are delineated in the law and in the Act, and the timeframes that have been established by Parliament, but that somehow there is that members must go above and beyond. It is a strange time when Conservatives consider it to be a best approach that parliamentarians are outside or above the law.
And the chair votes yes.
Yeas 5, nays 4.
Okay, the motion carries. No other business.
That are true. First is, I realized long before the leader of the opposition, long before the last election, you remember the last election? Long before the last election, that our relationship...
Are more just no record from January the 10th, 1963. Congressman Herlong of Florida read into the congressional record the 45 goals of communism in America, and they included all of those things. Gaining control of the schools and the teacher union so you can indoctrinate the kids, gaining control of the media and Hollywood so you change the culture of America, making sexual perversion normal, natural, and healthy, denigrating the role of the family, elevating the role of government. It's all in there. We need to understand that we're under attack and we have to fight back.
Who do you think is orchestrating all of this?
There have been people who have been opposed to the American way and American values since the very beginning. The Europeans thought that we were crazy. They said, you can't run a nation on the will of the people. You have to have a monarch. You have to have a ruler. But in today's world, we have to contend with the factions that still believe that socialism and communism is a better way of life. You give control of your life over to others who will guarantee that they will take care of you from the cradle to the grave.
That's why he bent over when we asked him to accelerate and pass C-19.
Mr. Speaker, if the Prime Minister is going to dodge questions, you better find someone better than that.
If the Conservatives want the truth, we'll tell the truth.
Yesterday from the Prime Minister really freaked these Conservatives out because they saw the ambition in that speech. And not only did they, in that speech, in nuclear to ensure the jobs of today and the future, they know that the youth.
The only thing that's revolting are those answers.
Speaker, we will take no lessons from these Conservatives.
That's why he bent over when we asked him to accelerate and pass C-19.
Mr. Speaker, if the Prime Minister is going to dodge questions, you better find someone better than that.
If the Conservatives want the truth, we'll tell them the truth.
Speech yesterday from the Prime Minister really freaked these Conservatives out because they saw the ambition in that speech. And not only did they see it in that speech today, as the Prime Minister stood with the Premier investing in new nuclear to ensure the jobs of today and the future, they know that the youth.
The only thing that's revolting are those answers.
Speaker, we will take no lessons from these Conservatives. Trust me on that.
The Minister didn't write the Prime Minister's speech yesterday because it wouldn't have bored and depressed to tears.
It's really hard to follow, isn't it, Mr. Speaker?
All of those poor students stuck in that room. There he spoke about how they would have to sacrifice more and that it would take time to reverse all of the misery that is built up over the last 10 years. Mr. Speaker, young people want to have homes. They want to have jobs. They want to have hope. They want a budget that is affordable so they can have a life that is affordable. Will the Prime Minister introduce that budget so that Canadians can restore the promise of their children?
And we decide what comes next.
No, that this government has their back and will continue. There's going to be a powerful statement for the young people of Canada.
Store. 25% of Canadians are using food banks because they can't afford to eat. So when will the Prime Minister finally get his inflationary deficits under control so Canadians can put food on the table?
Mr. Speaker, Conservative members pretend to care about food insecurity, but then they call feeding children garbage.
Mr. Speaker, what's garbage was that answer?
Did the Prime Minister see the ad before it went out?
Of course there are too many people living in poverty in Canada, but there are significant initiatives being put in place by this government.
Being serious means being honest.
Mr. Speaker, the grand reveal has been made.
Canada's economy is in fact growing, Mr. Speaker.
The new world order.
The honourable member for Saanich Gulf Islands.
Thank you, Mr. Speaker, and it's an honour to raise this point of order when the Right Honourable Stephen Harper is in this House. I remember the level of decorum we had in those days, and Mr. Speaker, I only rise because Standing Orders 14 to 16 were repeatedly violated on all sides of the House today. When Mr. Harper was Prime Minister, he was never once interrupted by heckling, as I recall. I hope we can go back to that, Mr. Speaker.
Order. Are there other points of order? No? Okay. Pardon, a point of order? Yes. The honourable member. The point of order? Sorry. Yes, the honourable member. Yes.
Thank you, Mr. Speaker. On a point of order, the Secretary of State for Sport referenced the temporary member for Battle River Crowfoot Mr. Speaker, it's in our standing orders that we are supposed to use either the title of the official leader of the opposition or the name of our riding. To add any adverbs or adjectives to it, Mr. Speaker, undermines the decorum in this place, and as someone who is part of the government should know better.
Yes, indeed, we have to be careful about using epithets because it does have the potential for creating disorder. So I think the member's point is well taken, and I hope that all observe that advice. The honourable Government House Leader.
A point of order, Mr. Speaker. In an earlier answer, I regret omitting the word backward, as in bent over backward, in an earlier answer.
Okay. Yes, the honourable member for Calgary Centre.
Mr. Speaker, during question period today, the Minister of State for Labour referenced Canada having the best economy in the G7, and every economic institute out there says exactly the opposite, including the Bank of Canada. So
no, that sounds like debate. That really sounds like debate. No other points of order? Okay, we'll take a little pause here.
I believe the progress that we have made in the partnership sets us up well for the new world order.
Welcome to the new answer period, the NAP, where we cover the question period, prefaced by a review of the far left evil that has beset our land and the events that surround it. The NAP precedes question period by 45 minutes, and we'll cover the lower house until the government decides to stop showing up. We also keep score. Describe the need description below to this podcast, stream, broadcast, whatever you want to call it. We're streaming on 3 platforms, Rumble, X, and YouTube. I'd like to thank my followers and subscribers for doing so. If you're new, please give us a like, thumbs up, follow, share, subscribe. Most of all, the chat is up, regardless of which platform you're on. If you're watching us on Rumble, just remember, if you don't have an account, you only have to deal with the first 2 ads at the beginning, and then you're done for the rest of the broadcast. You don't have to worry about ads popping up in your stream. And as you can see here, we have, oh yes, by the way, please comment. Comments drive the algorithm when I'm not driving it down with my forbidden words. And yeah, that's about it. Thanks again. Really appreciate all you folks out here, and especially all my subscribers and followers. We're slowly gaining some people. It'd be nice to gain some more. If you're not subscribed, please do on YouTube. If you're following us on Rumble, I really appreciate it. We can see here the House is not sitting. It's not sitting until 2 o'clock. And I also like to remind viewers whenever we're watching that through the parliamentary website, you can also have access to the daily order paper whenever Parliament is sitting. This is established by Greasy Steve McKinnon as party house leader, leader of the lower house, or parliamentary leader. He has a staff to do this and get together. So, of course, as you know, and I've been bringing it up constantly, is the 15 years that the government wants to hide all the vaccine harm and drug harm information from the public for some reason. That was as a direct result of this order paper, because if you go down, there are a list of questions that are asked. And throughout this order paper, when you go down, depending on which part, you can find out the status of those questions being asked of the various ministers and bureaucracies and where they're at and getting a response. Apparently, there were too many questions being asked, so they had to do something about it. I also like to remind people about the Qualified Canadian Journalism Organization, CRA discount that the Liberals get to choose which mainstream medias get in order to subsidize their staff 27 to 30 grand per year. That's not just their folks doing news, that's everybody within an organization. So Canadians, you are funding the mainstream media to repeat the propaganda of the Liberals into your bedrooms if you're watching that. Of course, we have our channels on YouTube and Rumble. And of course, we are posting some things on X. Did I have my X there? Oh, yes, there we go. Let's bring that over. Today's post is also a video that was posted on our Rumble and YouTube sites. The immigration minister loses track of millions of migrants from yesterday's sitting during question period. And I always like to give a shout out to Ron, because Ron's awesome. Yes, he is. Let's listen to Ron.
This is how long I've been in the mortgage industry.
Oh, sorry. Did I have my bloody mic on? Probably didn't. All right. Let's listen to this guy.
You spoke about upholding Canadian values here at home and abroad. Would you agree that includes things like free expression, association, protection from unreasonable search, etc.?
I'm happy to allow at least some leeway for the first question, but let's please try to stick to the topic at hand, which is the import-export.
Directly reference the minister's opening comments. If that's not relevant.
Hence, I'm saying the leeway for the first question. And please, if you want to test the chair's ability to cut you off, I'm happy to play that game. Thank you.
I am a lawyer and I believe in the law.
What a dick. That's a chair. That's a Liberal chair of the committee. Basically threatening the members of the committee that he's going to cut them off if he doesn't agree with what they're saying. You know, members of committees, MPs, have a rather large leeway of saying whatever the hell they want during their allotted time for questions. And if committee chair decides to, well, manage his committee like this, it's not going to work very well. You're supposed to be able to allow everybody to say whatever they want, and this constant thing by Liberals to say that, oh, you have to stick to the topic. Well, that's only because they wanted to ask her about the Emergencies Act. Because, you know. Oh, by the way, I just wonder, they didn't ask her any questions about, you know, her contacts to the Chinese either. That CSIS report by a serving and retired RCMP member released last year about this time.
These amendments are about economic security. This doesn't mean that we're not addressing issues relating to human rights and international law.
You've answered my question. I guess now that the Federal Court of Appeal has ruled that, in fact, your government trampled on those rights here at home.
I'm sorry. I
want to give you the opportunity to say if you would like to change your opinion.
I'm going to suspend the meeting. Let's suspend the meeting for 5 minutes so that we can get back in order. This is not a stage for us to veer reminder to.
Check that out, eh? Oh, no, can't embarrass me. Oh, no. Every time the Liberals come out and say, trust us, I know it's not in the bill. Don't worry about it. Trust us. We would never have used those powers. Yeah, right. Or a reminder of especially those people who've used those powers, eh?
Have been frozen. So you're confirming that accounts have been frozen, both personal and corporate, but you're not releasing the information. So you're confirming that accounts have been frozen, both personal and corporate, but you're not releasing the information. So you're confirming that accounts.
Laughing away at Canadians' misery. That's just basically displays exactly the kind of people Liberals are. Now, the Cabinet formally nominated ex-elections BC officer as commissioner to oversee federal registry. Anton Bogman was ridiculed as incompetent in the 2024 commentary privately circulating by federal election managers. Well, not just by them. A lot of people were having questions about how the elections were being run in BC as well. So it only makes sense that, you know, the Liberals would put this person in charge. Perhaps why? To better control the outcome through mismanagement of the next election? By having incompetent people in those spots?
By the
Now, we've been covering this a lot over the last couple of days because, well, it's just unimaginable the amount of secrecy that these criminals in government will go through to hide their crimes.
Time you are legally allowed to see the vaccine injury files, it will be year 2041. How old will you be in 2041? You might not even be alive by the time you read them. Health Canada just slapped a 15-year delay on releasing adverse reaction reports. That's not 15 days, ladies and gentlemen, that's 15 years. They say the reason that they're not going to be releasing is because there are millions upon millions of papers of injury data. That is not a paperwork problem. That's a catastrophe that they're trying to bury in someone's basement until the people responsible have completely retired with their pension.
That's exactly true. That's what he's saying right there. That's part of it. I mean, they can hide all the documentation they want, but the real life consequences are walking around or sitting in the graveyards, or they're in the hospitals with their health destroyed, or they're trying to get access to a failed vaccine injury support program, or they're being offered MAID.
They told you, just trust the science.
But getting that shot really was an amazing feeling. It hits you.
They told you that they were super transparent, but this transparency is going to take a decade and a half, and it isn't science. It's a cover-up. They are locking the door because they are terrified of what is in the room. If the data in those millions of pages were actually safe and effective, as Justin Trudeau would say on a daily basis, do you really think they would make you wait till 2041 to see it? Share this video with every single person you know if you want those files released. You won't see any of this stuff on mainstream media.
The way to do that is to make sure everyone, even that crusty old uncle who resists or that friend who's skeptical, encourage them, convince them, tell them that they need to get vaccinated, because this is how we get through it.
By the time you are legally allowed.
Yeah. The title of my morning show today was, Why Are Conservatives Acting Like Cowards? Why are they not talking about this? They could have won the last election had they run on a platform that the Liberal Party is adept at. They could win the next election running on that platform, but they have remained absolutely quiet. Practically absolutely quiet on this. Like Leslie Lewis has mentioned something about the vaccine injury support program in the spring as a follow-up to the failure over the summer where the program had to be taken over by the ministry. And since then, buckets in information, except for this seizure, this censorship of their crimes by the people committing the crimes. It's insane. Health Canada just sealing these records for 15 years. And it fits with a warning in 2023 that the UK vaccine farmers would be covered up to 20 years. This is Andrew Bridgen. He's an MP over in the UK. And guess what? There's an MOU. Oh, that's not the right one. This one here. Yes, Canada Proud. Sealing the records. There it is right here. So with this MOU with the UK, the government in the UK is withholding data that may link COVID jabs to excess deaths. UK HSA argued that releasing figures would lead to distress or anger of bereaved relatives if connections were discovered. Public Health Watchdog is accused of a cover-up after refusing to publish data that could link the COVID vaccine to excess deaths. Same thing is happening in Australia. This trifecta of all these far-left governments in each of these countries slowly destroying the middle class in each of these countries that forced them all to take this ridiculous injection that has many side effects that, of course, Pfizer has admitted to. Now, of course, on top of it all, as a reminder, the Liberals are acting very quick to hide records, right? They want to delete all emails after 30 days and want to delete all chats after 15 days. They want to hide all their criminal activity because that's what criminals do. They work in the dark. They work in the absolute dark. But when it comes to record retention, according to this Vanessa's law, well, apparently, sponsors are required to keep clinical trial records for 15 years, reduced from 25 years in 2022. So this fits right in with this 15-year thing. At first, you reduce the amount of time you have to hold on to records, and then you say, oh, no problem, we'll just make it 15 years until we can't see those records. And then by the time you want to see them, they'll already be deleted and gone. That's how these criminals work. It's insane. It's absolutely insane. And where's the mainstream media on this? They're not talking about this. Oh no, for them, it's what can we talk about today to make more fearful the Canadian citizens over the possibility of Trump this, Trump that, Trump this. No, let's not talk about the fuckery that the Liberal Party is doing. Not at all. Played this yesterday. Florida has decided to pretty well saying that you can't force anybody to have a vaccine. That's it. He's basically equated mandatory vaccines in any setting to slavery. Well, there's reports coming out that showed between vaccinated children and unvaccinated children, and the unvaccinated children were far healthier than the vaccinated ones. In fact, the unvaccinated children never had any of all these weird autoimmune and sicknesses that all the vaccinated children are having. The study is there. People can argue about it. People can call us all anti-vaxxers, but the truth is in the pudding. Or the proof is in the pudding. The truth always comes out. Just know them by what they do. Right? Know them by what they do. How can anyone still defend this new government? It's ridiculous they call themselves a new government since they've been in power since 2015. Sealing vaccine injury reports for 15 years, has millions of pages hidden. This isn't leadership, it's betrayal. Heartless, soulless. How do people sleep at night supporting this? And it's by Barbara Ball. She was the conservative running the same riding as three passport-carrying Carney, who doesn't even live in his riding, by the way. And I don't even know if he has a constituency office open. There was an announcement on his webpage that apparently one was open in December, but imagine that. From the time he was elected in April, he had no constituency office. That's how these people roll, because he's not there for his constituents. He's not there for Canadians. He's there for himself. And he's there for his friends. They've spent more money than a previous government. They've practically blown through the budget by twice, a budget that hasn't even been approved. And here's Donald Best, right? The government of Canada admitted that over 10,000 Canadians were injured or killed by COVID vaccines. This is why. This came out before they decided to seal all the documentation. Now, of course, Donald Best covers the story that's been going on with Detective Helen Bruce, which as a result of this inquiry into her, they've been now going after all cops saying, oh, no, you can't investigate anything that might bring disrepute to Liberals, because if you do, we will politically go after you, like they've been going after her. Ever since she started investigating baby deaths being caused. And here's the World Economic Forum admitting that the COVID-19 pandemic serves as a test of the public's willingness to comply with their vision of the planet. That's right. If you can manipulate people through fear, you can get them to do anything. COVID-19 was the test of a social responsibility. Well, their version of a social responsibility. A huge number of unimaginable restrictions public health were adopted by billions of citizens across the world. No, they weren't adopted. They were coerced. They were forced upon the citizenship. And I'm sure most of them would have said no to this bullshit. So nobody adopted it. Basically, they were mandates. There were numerous examples of globally or of maintaining social distancing, which proved to be like stupid. Wearing masks, which we know don't do anything. Mass vaccinations, well, how did that turn out? And acceptance of contact tracing applications for public health. No, actually, let's not forget the Arrive scam that the Liberals wasted a bunch of money on, let alone all the other fuckery that was going on during that time in the previous government that ended up leading up to the election last year because the governments refused again to release documentation on redaction over 5,000 pages that would have basically made them complicit in, fraud and stealing money from Canadians. So as a result, we ended up having an election last year. But since the same government stayed in, we still haven't been able to see those documents. And I guess they've learned from that last election. Well, there's no sense in amassing for documents if we just delete it all, or if we make laws to hide it all. This is more and more like a communist government. Here's Nicholas Holscher. All COVID vaccinated individuals should undergo cardiac screening. Our new study indicates that 1 in 3% of vaccinated individuals suffers subclinical heart damage, and sudden death can be first manifestation. That's right, no warning, folks. And when they talk about subclinical heart damage, it's not the same kind of heart damage that we would have gotten under normal circumstances if our heart muscle was damaged. No, this is subclinical at the cellular level. This means millions likely have unrecognized heart damage. Well, good reason to hide your records for 15 years. We published the first screening and treatment approach for the millions of individuals with unrecognized vaccine-induced cardiac damage in the best attempt to prevent fatal cardiac arrest. Possible warning signs people may notice: chest discomfort, palpitations or irregular beats, lightheadedness or near fainting, exercise intolerance, heart rate instability, including thoughts like patterns, and labile blood pressure. And of course, it goes on for some management protocols. If you haven't been following him online, you should. And yeah, let's listen to this testimony right here.
I'm in the hospital. I'm okay. Hey everyone. If I'm not answering my phone, it's because I'm in the hospital. I'm okay. This morning I woke up with what felt like a heart attack. So we quickly went to a hospital that was 7 minutes away from our Airbnb. After 3 EKGs, I was showing signs of possible heart attack. So I was quickly transported to another hospital where they began to prep me. I had a, sorry, my brain's everywhere. They put this like wire thing, I think it's called a catheter, in through my wrist, all the way into my heart. And the results showed no heart attack, but that I do have inflammation in my heart. So they're keeping me overnight. I have some chest pain right now. I'm on a lot of morphine, but it is what it is. I'm hoping that they figure out what's wrong with me. But yeah.
Heart attacks at young ages. All these new weird heart attacks happening at young ages following this mass injection of humans. Interesting. Moderna's new COVID shot, MX spike. Did you know NEX translates to murderous death in Latin? Interesting. The FDA approved it with no placebo-controlled safety studies, and 1 in 30 people experience serious issues needing medical care. Fascinating. Here's a list of the ingredients. We've got some modified messenger RNA, polyethylene glycol, dimethyl glycerol, distyryl SN glycerol 3 phosphocholine, and chromatine hydrochloride. Now, I'm sure if you looked each of one of these up to find the MSDS safety data sheets on these, material safety data sheets on these, you'd probably find that you shouldn't even be handling those without gloves. And on it goes. Zero placebo trials. They compared it to the old Spikevax vaccine. Instead of saline, safely monitored for only 7 days. Wow. 7 day trial. Imagine that, eh? And of course, here's some dangers of injecting derived from antifreeze like ethylene glycol, the PEG, causing seizures, especially in children with low sodium, heart attacks, strokes, hypertension, neurological issues, mood changes, aggressions, like all these risks on there. And of course, when you go for the jab, they're going to say, well, the risk is minimal. Well, okay, the risk is minimal. If the risk is minimal, show me the benefits of the vaccine injury support program in Canada then before I get the injection. Because if something goes wrong, I want to make sure that there's mechanisms there to support me for the rest of my life instead of, I don't know, offering me MAID. That would be nice, wouldn't it? How are we doing on time? Oh, 2 o'clock. That means Parliament should just be sitting now. Let me check down here. Oh, it shows that they are in progress. Excellent. And are they in progress? They haven't even showed up to single candidate yet. Well, good enough for government work, I guess. And here's Kayla Pollock. She's been on X, and she has been, well, she's been trying to raise some money to live not because it's false. The image was flagged and buried. What? Not because it was false, but because it's inconvenient. I was offered MAID without requesting it. That is documented. Veterans were offered MAID without requesting it. That was documented. Yes, it was. Disabled Canadians have been warned by the UN about this very issue. That is documented. Yet this post gets labeled misleading and hidden while linking to an article that narrowly reframes the claim instead of addressing the reality. So I'm asking openly, she says, defend the censorship or explain why documenting lived experience and official reporting must be suppressed. If this is wrong, argue it publicly. If it's true, why hide it? Exactly. What do these notes say? Notes suggest context to be shown. Yeah, okay. There is no evidence of any Canadian government policy to euthanize its vaccine injured citizens, except we have living proof. Living proof. Come on, X, get it together. Get it together. And speaking of MAID, Kelsey Sharon has a new Substack. Oh, I wanted to go to that Substack. And basically covering what Garnet Jenis is bringing in a notice paper, and he's got a bill that names removing MAID from being coerced for new citizens, for people, for anybody. So you go to the doctor, basically, no doctor or healthcare professional should be talking to you about MAID at all, period. Somebody asks, talk about it. But you should not be mentioning it. Shouldn't even be putting that in somebody's brain when they go in for healthcare. Because they're going in for health care, not death care. If you follow Kelsey, she's got a link to her Substack. Oh, I guess we'll have to bring her site up. Substack here. Ah, there we go. Had the window open up on the side here to see when they were going to show up. Okay, is this a story? Let's go to it. Ottawa quietly tabled a private members bill today that should stop people in their tracks. It amends the criminal code on medical assistance in dying to add protections against coercion. That sounds procedural. It isn't. Ottawa just acknowledged that they've spent years denying. Some MAID choices aren't free. Bill names coercion, and that's a legal grenade. For the first time in years, Parliament is being forced to confront a reality that MAID framework is carefully avoided. Choice does not exist in vacuum. This bill matters because it introduces concept the MAID regime has tried to keep out of the conversation entirely, and that is a pressuring people into killing themselves. Because the Liberal Party is a death cult. They've turned Canada into a death machine. right, let's listen to Mario. Let's bring this up here. Back.
With me on this, check this out. This Liberal Member of Parliament, Bill Blair, just resigned. And because he resigned, the Liberals recruited this woman right here. She's currently a member of provincial parliament in Ontario for the NDP. She's their deputy leader. The federal NDP, they're really ticked. They're not happy about this. So she is going to go in his riding and replace Bill as the member of parliament for his former riding. Now wait, it gets better. Because she resigned as a member of provincial parliament, this guy here, Nate, who's currently a member of parliament, is currently campaigning to take her seat. Now, why would a member of parliament campaign to want to take a member of provincial parliament seat? Just announced that he's going all in Ontario. He wants to be the leader of the Ontario Liberal government so he can go up against Doug Ford in the upcoming or the next election. Now, Nate here failed under Justin Trudeau as the Minister of Housing. In fact, Mark Carney didn't invite him back into the cabinet. So the Liberals are moving around their pieces. Bill Blair quits, an NDP candidate goes to fill his seat as the provincial deputy leader for the NDP to the federal Liberal Party, and this guy here continues to collect his paycheck as a member of parliament while trying to campaign to become the leader of the Ontario Liberal Party. He was elected and is currently being paid to be a member of parliament to represent his constituents at the federal level. There's a duality of hypocrisy happening here where he continues to collect his paycheck while trying to campaign to be the leader and a member of provincial parliament for the Ontario Liberal Party. Do you guys see how insane that is? Not one person in Canada voted for Nate to become a member of parliament for the federal Liberal Party, only for him to take his paycheck, continue collecting it, not resign, and still campaign to try to be the leader of the Ontario Liberal Party. And this, my friends, is the disgusting hypocrisy of politics, where you can continue to apply to other jobs out in the open, focus on applying for those jobs out in the open, while still collecting paychecks and not representing the people that gave you the job in the first place.
Wow. Of course, if you're on the left in a political stream, you don't have any morals or ethics. So you don't really care what you do, and you don't care what people say, as long as you can get away with it. And they are getting away with it. Because who's going to stop them? Right? The Liberals are in charge, and they seem to have complete control over everything. You can't hold them accountable for anything. And if there's any crimes, well, they just put in a law to delete it or make it disappear for 15 years. Let's just listen to the beginning of Dave here on Moose on Loose.
Well, Alberta's feeling vulnerable, Quebec's feeling vulnerable, British Columbia's feeling vulnerable. How can I exploit that?
Mainstream media just let the cat out of the bag. Welcome back to Moose and Loose. My name's David. Today we have one of the most unbelievable clips we've seen in a long time here. The media said the quiet part out loud, and it's very clear where their allegiance lies. Let's jump into this. Starting this one off, we got an article here from Bloomberg being shared by Desiree. It says Canada's economy on track to shrink 0.5% in the fourth quarter. This is Carney's Canada. Now, to cover up stuff like this, Mark Carney and his team pushing a lot of tax money out to mainstream media, and he's also signing phony baloney deals, and that's what we have here as Mark Nixon sharing this one. Ottawa signed a memorandum of understanding to bring auto manufacturing to Canada from South Korea. This is another MOU. This doesn't do anything. It doesn't mean anything. It's a whole lot of nothing.
Sources have told CTV News Ottawa has signed a memorandum of understanding with South Korea to bring auto manufacturing to Canada. The MOU, which is not binding, calls for closer industrial cooperation on the future of mobility.
She said it right there. It's not binding. It doesn't mean anything. This isn't a trade agreement.
This includes talks on the auto sector. It was signed by Industry Minister Melanie Joly and her South Korean counterpart last week. The talks, which are still in the early stages, involve the possibility of manufacturing vehicles or auto parts and batteries.
That's what we need, more EVs. to MPs says political organizers are using the internet to undermine Canadians' trust in public institutions. He did not identify any by name. Disinformation presents a serious challenge, Miller wrote. The Commons Heritage Committee, politically, ideologically, and financially motivated actors are leveraging digital platforms to spread false or misleading information, undermining public trust and eroding democratic discourse. This is unbelievable. These guys pay the media, push out their talking points, and they have the audacity to call all of us misleading and misinformation. Cabinet must promote Canadian access to trustworthy news, wrote Miller. The needs of protecting public interest journalism are urgent, he added. The minister did not elaborate. Goes on to say,
So they believe they are protecting journalism by funding journalism. That's how these liberals roll. If they don't have their fingers in your pie, if they're not somehow funding to control whatever it is that's happening in Canada, well, then you're anti-Canadian. Then you are worthy of being called a name. You will be feared. You will be chastised, and hopefully, the government will be able to use violence to suppress your peaceful protest in the future, because that's what they promised to do. Because that's how liberals roll: work in the dark, use violence, and then create misleading narratives like this in order to bring in more authoritarian control. Oh, these people are misleading. Only us should have control of what the truth is. And that's what they do by using the QCJO, right? This right here, Qualified Canadian Journalism Organization. That's how they control the media. Another 4 minutes before question period starts. Now, we had the culling of the ostriches back in December, and that whole schmozzle with the Canadian Food Inspection Agency is not going to go away. It's not going to die. Farmers all over Canada are getting perturbed with this government agency that is coming in and just slaughtering all their herds and flocks, and then basically not compensating them. And of course, it's a threat to our food supply in Canada, all based on fraudulent science, like what happened with the ostriches, because they never tested the birds. They tested 2 dead carcasses using what is known to be well, let's just say it's not a very good test, because the PCR test has always been fraudulently used to say what people or animals have in them. You just keep running the test through enough cycles to get the result that you want. They tested 2 dead carcasses, never tested the live flock. So I'm just going to read you what David Creighton has put on his post. Join the growing chorus that is demanding the immediate resignation of Agricultural and Agri-Food Minister Heath MacDonald. Gross neglect of his duties and responsibilities as a Minister of the Crown, directly responsible for the outrageous violations of the Charter of Rights and Freedoms and the Canadian Constitution, especially with regard to the illegal behavior of the Canadian Food Inspection Agency at Universal Ostrich Farms. Here is the letter to send to AAFC Minister, and he writes, Dear Minister MacDonald, I am writing to you to publicly and formally to call for your resignation as Minister of Agriculture and Agri-Food. This request is not made lightly, nor is it driven by personal grievance or political ideology. It is made out of deep concern for the future of Canadian agriculture, scientific integrity, and the public trust trusted to your office. The role of Minister of Agriculture is no longer ceremonial. It is a position of profound responsibility involving life and death decisions that require scientific literacy, sound judgment, and the ability to distinguish evidence based on risk management from irreversible harm. Under your leadership, Canada has witnessed decisions that reflect a fundamental failure of those responsibilities. Healthy animals were destroyed without comprehensive testing. Scientific inquiry was abandoned rather than pursued. Research, value, and biological discovery were eliminated instead of protected. Millions of taxpayer dollars were spent on enforcement, security, and litigation, while scientific and inspection capacity were reduced. At the same time, research positions within Canadian Food Inspection Agency have been cut or left unfilled, eroding institutional knowledge and weakening Canada's ability to respond to agricultural and biosecurity challenges through evidence rather than force. This inversion of priorities, cutting science while expanding punishment, is not risk management. It's governance failure. I would call it something else. Agriculture today sits at the intersection of food security, biodiversity, bioinnovation, ethics, and national sovereignty. These realities demand leadership capable of understanding scientific complexity, or at minimum, recognizing when to pause irreversible action until evidence is gathered and reviewed transparently. The record under your tenure demonstrates an inability to meet standard. For the sake of Canadian farmers, researchers, public confidence, and our country's agricultural independence, I believe it is necessary for you to step down and allow new leadership grounded in science, competence, and restraint to take your place. This call is not made in anger. It is made in responsibility to the future of Canadian agriculture and to the principle that power must always be accountable to evidence. Canada deserves leadership that chooses science over speculation, discovery over destruction, and stewardship over convenience. Respectfully. And here we go. That would be the minister right there. And he's probably getting some Order of Canada or some kind of medal that all the self-flicking ice cream cone people give to each other in Parliament. How are we doing on time? Looks like we might be starting. Let's have a look. We're still in statements by members. And right now it's Dal Winder-Gill, Calgary McKnight from Alberta, Conservative MP, speaking, doing a statement. And yeah, let's just listen to Creighton here while we wait for a question period to start. And as soon as it starts, we will move over.
More thing to show you, because this is absolutely incredible. And we'll have more on this tomorrow. But the Canadian Food Inspection Agency, they're crying the blues. Oh, we got harassed. This is the goon squad, the extermination squad that goes around the countryside killing animals because, oh, we suspect they might have avian flu, man. And we're going to kill them all. Just like they did with 300 plus ostriches at Universal Ostrich Farms. No evidence at all that these ostriches had H5N1 avian influenza. No actual evidence, substantial evidence that they ever had avian influenza when they were first supposedly diagnosed. The PCR tests are 80% inaccurate, and they only tested on 2 dead ostriches. So they might never have had avian influenza in the first place. And in the second place, that herd developed herd immunity to avian influenza. They were healthy for over 300 days when the goon squad from the CFIA massacred them in the most inhumane manner possible. And so that's not enough for these bastards. Excuse my language, but they've got to not only massacre the farm's ostriches, destroy the farm as they did. Now they've got to fine them $10,000 for an erroneous charge. And now they've got to bitch and complain about, oh, we're getting harassed. Oh, my God. Harassment from opponents of the operation. Said a senior official. Yeah, probably some flack, probably their chief flack, who refused to answer a single question during their occupation and massacre at the farm. Would not answer a single question that I posed. Is that the senior official who's now bitching about, oh, the harassment? There's been an escalating pattern of threats, both online and in person, to CFIA personnel, including those who were present at the farm, but not limited to folks on the farm, the official said in an interview with Canadian Press. They agreed to an interview on Thursday on conditions of anonymity for security reasons, including that their voice not be broadcast in case it was recognized. In some of the first public remarks by a senior CFIA official since the November 16th call. Massacre, read massacre. These kinds of threats have been of an intimidating nature of a harassing nature, of a threatening physical violent nature, they said. Yeah, you know, I really doubt it. And they try, of course, to suggest it's all the farm's fault. Yeah. Like Katie Pasidney and her mother are out there trying to get people to harass the CFI. Yeah, I don't believe it. The official said staff faced a barrage of harassment over the Cull massacre at Universal Ostrich Farms in southeastern BC, which was ordered more than 10 months earlier amid an supposed outbreak of H5N1 avian flu. Marksmen who needed 1,000 rounds to shoot maybe 300 birds, shot and killed 314 ostriches, maybe 314, inside a hay bale enclosure on a night of cold, drenching rain. The CFIA official said they don't think the farm set out to create the environment that unfolded. But nonetheless, however, notwithstanding perhaps their intentions, whether directly or deliberately or not, they did, I think, give the space for some of this to happen, the official said. Katie Pasidney, daughter of one of the farm's co-owners, Karen Esperson, said any threats or harassment directed at CFIA staff or their families is completely unacceptable. She's been saying that since the very beginning of this. We condemn violence and intimidation in all forms without qualifications, she said in an email Thursday. So, you know, if you're sick and tired of the CFIA groaning and crying and complaining, they're the ones who created the catastrophe. They're the ones who broke every environmental law that they could possibly have broken during the evacuation from this farm. They're the ones who meted out animal cruelty to these animals, these ostriches. We have the evidence. We saw it for weeks. We have the evidence of animal cruelty. Nobody was charged, and they should have been. Nobody was charged for this evacuation that broke the law. They used companies called Super Save to transport these dead ostriches. They were not authorized to do that. They know that. Everybody now knows that, but they're still complaining about their being harassed. What a pile of bullshit. And it just keeps going. We'll have more about this one tomorrow because believe me, this is just outrageous that Katie and her mom have to put up with this, continue to have to put up with this.
Oh, it looks like we're starting. Just making sure. Yeah, it looks like it. All right, let's bring up Parliament.
Liberal plan led to the worst food inflation in the G7. No prices are up, stabilized.
Sorry about that. We didn't have sound on. Let's hear his question.
3 years ago, the current Minister of Finance promised firmly and with great enthusiasm to stabilize food prices. But this has been a great spectacle, but it didn't really give much results. Since then, prices are up, and the current PM said he'd be judged by prices at the grocery store, but it's a failure. Canada now leads the G7 in food inflation. No prices are going down. His plan isn't working. Why should Canadians believe this Prime Minister when the last Liberal plan led to the worst food inflation in the G7? The Honourable Government House Leader. Mr. Speaker, today, even this House will probably make the decision to send a bill to the Senate that will provide assistance up to $1,800 to families in Canada to help them with the issue of affordability and notably in terms of groceries and essentials. We would invite the official opposition to support us in this. We are very happy that they said they would do so, and today is a historical day for affordability in Canada. The honourable member for Mégantic-L'Érable, historic day for affordability. No grocery prices are going down, and this GST credit isn't going to make things affordable. This means we have to bring prices down on groceries. Will they do this? They'll be giving a $10 coupon, in fact, for $300 for families. Mr. Speaker, most Canadians won't get anything this afternoon. Since they don't seem to be having any ideas, will they vote for our plan to make groceries affordable? The Honourable Minister of Industry. Mr. Speaker, good news today. The Conservatives will vote in favour of our plan to help everyday Canadians to pay groceries, an important plan that will make sure that they'll receive $1,800 per family across our country for the most vulnerable families. So I'd like to thank the Conservatives for seeing the light finally and to recognize that our plan is working.
Member for Chilliwack Hope.
The Finance Minister promised 3 years ago that he had a plan to lower food prices. Well, how's that working out? Since then, the cost of groceries has skyrocketed, with the price of lettuce up 40%, coffee up over 30%, the price of beef up over 25%. The recycled plan for a temporary rebate won't reduce the cost of a single item of food. Their plan has failed. So why don't the Liberals support our food affordability plan to axe the industrial carbon tax, cut the fuel standards tax, and boost competition in grocery stores to lower food prices for all Canadians?
Honourable Government House Leader.
Well, Mr. Speaker, today is a big day. Today is the day where, if all goes well, we will be passing historic assistance for Canadian families grappling with affordability issues with respect to food and essential goods. And after much cajoling, the opposition finally decided to stop the games, stop the obstruction, and to allow this bill to move on to the Senate so we can get that aid to Canadian families now. Thank you, Mr. Speaker.
The honourable member for Chilliwack Hope.
Most Canadians will get no benefit from this recycled plan. A small number will get about $10 a week, but that won't make a dent in the over $340 a week a family of four has to spend to buy groceries. The Finance Minister promised he would bring down grocery prices 3 years ago. He failed then, he's failing again. Their plan isn't working, so why don't they vote for our food affordability plan to cut the industrial carbon tax, axe the fuel standards tax, and finally lower grocery prices for all Canadians?
The Honourable Minister of Jobs and Families.
Mr. Speaker, last fall, all these Conservatives did was quote Food Bank Canada. Over and over and over, they talked about Food Bank Canada. They failed to notice that Food Bank Canada recommended exactly what we are doing right now, which is put more money in the pockets of those that need it the most. And yet they say, well, they want to cooperate. Can they stop obstructing legislation that is helping Canadians get ahead? They need to be partners in this work, Mr. Speaker. Canadians certainly are stepping up for each other. Why can't they step up for their constituents?
The honourable member for Newtecumseg-Gwillimbury.
Mr. Speaker, news reports this week confirm what Canadians already know. Our economy is on life support. Because of Liberal mismanagement, we've had 2 consecutive quarters of zero economic growth. While our GDP is stagnant, grocery inflation keeps climbing. This year will cost $17,600 to feed a family of 4, nearly $1,000 more than it did in 2025. Why is it under these Liberals the only thing rising is the price of food?
The Honourable Minister of Industry.
Mr. Speaker, since September, we've created 189,000 jobs. Great news for Canada. That is more jobs created in Canada than in the U.S. We have the second fastest growing economy. And let me give you examples. Alstom, 240 new jobs at Thunder Bay. 150 new jobs at Saint-Bruno de Montarville. 100 new jobs in La Pocatière. 330 new jobs at Bombardier. 300 new jobs
The honourable member for Newtecumseh-Gwillimbury.
Mr. Speaker, this government could talk a glass eye to sleep, but it's the Liberals who need to wake up. Do they need to see how many more Canadians are on the street shaking a coffee cup for change? This government refuses to take the tax off food. They refuse to boost competition, and they refuse to deliver a real plan for food affordability. Their rebate won't reduce the price of a single item at their grocery store. Will they support our food affordability plan and deliver some real relief for Canadians?
The Honourable Minister of Jobs and Family.
Mr. Speaker, the average family is saving $16,000 a year on childcare. You know who refuses to support young families with the cost of living? The Conservatives across the aisle. Mr. Speaker, families are saving $800 a year in food costs for their children at school. You know who refuses to feed hungry children at school, Mr. Speaker? The Conservatives. Mr. Speaker, every step we take, they obstruct. They get in the way of
Yes, every step you guys take in socialism, of course, the Conservatives are going to be against because you're food stamp people.
The honourable member for Saint Jean. Mr. Speaker, some retirees have not received their old age pensions for 9 months because of the CRM software, and the government's ignoring them. Today, they're not the only ones being ignored. The government is also ignoring the opinions of its own civil servants. In an internal survey, more than half of them rated the software 1 out of 10. 89% of them believe that CRM has hindered rather than improved services for Canadians. When will the Liberals take their heads out of the sand and fix the problems? The Honourable Minister of Employment. Thank you, Mr. Speaker. The implementation of this new platform requires an adaptation period. We're working tirelessly to ensure that the personnel has the necessary tools to familiarize themselves with this new system and to provide benefits. If someone is having issues with this, they need to contact Service Canada and my office directly so we can respond to their demands. Thank you. The Honourable Member for Saint Jean. Mr. Speaker, they have been sounding the alarm for months. And in a document provided by La Presse, the union says that CRM is causing problems similar to the Phoenix fiasco, but on a larger scale. And worse still, the union reports that a procedure clearly states that citizens must not be told that payment delays or errors are related to CRM. Mr. Speaker, has the government ordered civil servants to lie instead of fixing the problems? The Honourable Parliamentary Secretary. The problems related to old age security are over. More than 7,000 seniors are now receiving their payments. They're trying to cover 4 distinct projects. This is the amount set out and approved for the length of this project. Thank you. The Honourable Member for Shefford. Mr. Speaker, some retirees have been waiting for their old age pensions for 9 months. And meanwhile, we learn that not only is this government pretending that everything's fine, and not only it's not telling the truth to the media or answering our questions, but it is asking its officials to lie to citizens and tell them that their problems have nothing to do with the CRM software. Mr. Speaker, what should be the Liberals' priority? Helping retirees or protecting their own backsides?
Attention.
Be careful. Decorum, please. The Honourable Minister of Employment and Families. Thank you, Mr. Speaker. Our cabinet did reach out to the member across the way, but we did not receive a reply. If they have urgent cases to be resolved, I would ask them to contact me so we can reply to them. I'm ready to help out their constituents. Thank you.
For King Vaughan.
Seniors built this country, and now they must make the tough decisions between buying groceries or medication. They can't absorb these costs, and they can't afford to skip meals. 3 years ago, the finance minister promised to stabilize food prices. Another broken promise. Canada has the worst food inflation in the G7. Wow. The Conservatives have the solution. Cut the industrial carbon tax, cut the fuel standard tax, give the supermarkets genuine competition. Will the Liberals adopt our proposals and demonstrate empathy for our seniors so they can live in dignity?
The Honourable Secretary of State for Seniors.
They want to know why we're not adopting their plan. The answer is simple. The only person that thinks it's going to work is their leader. We are following the advice of Food Banks Canada. We are following the advices of experts. And let me tell you what seniors are saying.
Are following the advice of food banks. This is our Liberal government running Canada, depending on advice from food banks. Can you say National Socialism any louder?
Dava Houston says, seeing a lot of talk about the grocery rebate helping no one. As a senior, I disagree. This benefit is specifically targeted to help those of us on fixed incomes navigate high food prices. It's a floor for people who built this country and need it. At least they could stop talking it down.
The Honourable Member for King Vaughan.
Mr. Speaker, the Liberals' recycled rebate does not address the high cost of groceries. Some seniors will only receive $10 a week, which is less than the cost of a cup of coffee per day, which is up 33.6%. The $10 savings is like receiving another coupon. This rebate is an admission of the failed policies of this Liberal government and won't change much for our seniors. So again, I will ask the government, will they take our proposal and use it to ensure our seniors can live in dignity?
The Honourable Secretary of State for Seniors.
You know what will make a real difference in fighting food insecurity, Mr. Speaker? Ensuring that seniors have the money in their pockets that they need to be able to buy groceries, to be able to buy toilet paper and coffee and these kinds of items over which the government has no control. We are controlling what we can, and that is ensuring that seniors have the money that they need to afford the essentials they need. That is also why we are ensuring that 1 million lower-income Canadians can access the benefits that they're entitled to with automatic tax filing. We are ensuring that older Canadians get the money they need through the essential.
I can hear the Honourable Member from Vernon, but maybe we could keep it down. The Honourable Member for Calgary Signal Hill.
Mr. Speaker, while Liberals talk about elbows up, average Canadians see only the price of groceries up. Food price inflation has doubled since this Prime Minister took office. The percentage of seniors using food banks is up 22% over 5 years, forcing seniors to choose between meals and medication. Conservatives want results. Will the Prime Minister work with us to boost competition in grocery chains and eliminate the industrial carbon tax and the fuel standards tax to bring food prices down?
The Honourable Minister for Emergency Management and Community Resilience.
Mr. Speaker, the Conservatives have spent the last 2 months going on and on talking about food banks, but they really need to listen to them. I was in Edmonton last weekend, and I met with people on the ground at food banks, and they were praising the Prime Minister's announcement and saying what a huge benefit it would be to people actually on the ground in ridings in Alberta, including Conservative ridings. Conservatives should support a benefit that will help 1.3 million Albertans, including those in Conservative ridings. Thank you, Mr. Speaker.
The Honourable
Yes, let's support putting food bills on credit cards.
The grocery inflation crisis is tearing apart families and tearing apart our communities. I received a letter from a senior citizen in Cambridge whose son had to move back home because he couldn't afford the cost of living. He wants to get married, but can't even move out of his mom's home to buy his own, start a family, have children, and be able to feed them. With lettuce up 40%, beef up nearly 30%, canned vegetables up over 10%, there's simply no money left for anything else in life. This government's been all sizzle and no steak when it comes to food affordability. When will this Liberal government stop with the empty words and start cooking up some real solutions to bring down the price of groceries?
The Honourable Secretary of State for Combating Crime.
Mr. Speaker, if the challenge is complex, real leadership meets it with more, not less.
That's right.
That's why when it comes to food inflation, Canada's new government is doing more. We're building long-term solutions to pricing pressures and making sure that Canadians get the real relief that they need right now.
Right.
We're building stronger, more resilient supply chains and increasing domestic supply and production to ensure that additional costs are not passed on to the consumer. That will take time, Mr. Speaker, but while we're doing that, we're also going to make sure that Canadians get 5 years of support, over $1,890 a month for a family.
The Honourable Member for Calgary Skyview.
Mr. Speaker, 3 years ago, the Finance Minister promised to stabilize food prices. He failed. Since then, lettuce is up 40%, beef is up 27%, baby formula is up 14%. Canada has the highest food inflation in the G7. 2.2 million Canadians are visiting food banks every month. Canadians are struggling. We want results. Will the Liberals support our motion for a food affordability plan that removes industrial carbon tax, fuel standard tax, and increases competition in grocery stores? Yes or no?
The Honourable Parliamentary Secretary to the Minister of Immigration, Refugees and Citizenship.
Mr. Speaker, they've mentioned beef, they've mentioned coffee, fruits and vegetables. The Bank of Canada has affirmed what we already know. They made clear that import costs are crucial when it comes to food inflation. And which kind of import costs in particular? Climate change, Mr. Speaker. Dramatic weather events around the world and domestically. It's obvious, Mr. Speaker, when you have
Climate
more
change,
flooding,
moron.
when you have more droughts, it affects food production. It affects the size of livestock as well. Mr. Speaker, let's be serious about the solutions at hand. Let's work together to build up the economy. Canadians expect it. Let's meet this moment right now.
The Honourable Member for Portneuf, Jacques Cartier. Mr. Speaker, I invite the Liberal government to talk to Canadians to find out how much the cost of living is hurting them. The Minister of Finance promised to stabilize food prices 3 years ago, but his plan did not work. Food inflation has never been higher in Canada. It's twice as high as in the U.S. They need to stop making excuses. And here's the solution from the Conservatives, our affordability plan. Will the Liberal government support it and finally take action to help Canadians? The Honourable Secretary of State. Mr. Speaker, this afternoon we'll be voting at third reading for the Canadian Grocery and Essentials rebate, and I'm really happy we'll be working together for Canadians with this measure. And it will give a family of four $1,800 back, and that is giving them purchasing power and allowing families and not manufacturers or grocery stores. It'll allow families to decide for themselves. That's what Canadians want. They want to have the choice. And thank you for your support. The Honourable Member for Lévis-Lotbinière. Mr. Speaker, 3 years ago, the Minister of Finance promised to stabilize food prices. Since then, the price of lettuce is up by 40%. Price of coffee is up 34%, and price of beef is up 27%. Mr. Speaker, instead of lowering costs, the Liberals have been putting another Band-Aid on the problem with another temporary rebate. Will the Liberals finally reverse this trend by supporting our Conservative motion, which eliminates the industrial carbon tax, abolishes the fuel standards tax, and strengthens competition in grocery stores? The Honourable Secretary of State. Mr. Speaker, it's fundamental for the choice to be up to Canadians. And it's so important that we're not only working to approve this grocery rebate, but we're also rebuilding our economy to tackle this trade war that we never hear them talk about. So this is a whole system that we're tackling to give back purchasing power to Canadians, and we have to do this together. Thank you, Mr. Speaker. The Honourable Member for Saint-Hyacinthe-Bagotte-Acton. Mr. Speaker, the Prime Minister placed great emphasis on diversifying trade at Davos, and he was right to do so. Yet, he himself is blocking a trade agreement with Taiwan. Taiwan's representatives in Canada have confirmed that all pages of the agreement have been initialed by both parties, and the document is ready and printed in 3 languages. The only thing that's missing is a PM signature, and it's been stuck in his office for 9 months. Is Ottawa abandoning agreement with their reliable partner because they're afraid of their new Chinese friend? The Honourable Minister of Trade. Mr. Speaker, as my colleague has said, the government is determined to extend its trade partnerships across the world, and particularly in the Indo-Pacific. Canada and Taiwan have solid economic ties and tight ties, while still being in line with our historic policy of one China. And we will continue to defend Canada's interests by diversifying our trade and by strengthening our ties with reliable partners across the world. The Honourable Member for Lac-Saint-Jean. Mr. Speaker, Taiwan is a reliable partner, a democracy, and a market economy. It's a leader in green tech and AI, among other areas, where fields where trade would benefit Quebec. And it's the 6th largest economy in Asia. It's exactly the type of middle power that Canada should be joining forces with to counter the hegemony of giants, according to the PM's speech at Davos. But yet he himself is blocking the agreement with Taiwan in order to court China. Mr. Speaker, why is the Prime Minister doing exactly the opposite of what he said at Davos?
The Honourable Minister of International Trade.
Expanding our partnership around the world, including in the Indo-Pacific, Canada and Taiwan enjoy a strong economic and people-to-people ties consistent with our long-standing One China policy. We will continue to stand up for Canadian interests as we diversify trade and strengthen relationships with reliable trading partners around the world. Thank you, Mr. Speaker.
The Honourable Member for Brant South, Six Nations.
Well, Mr. Speaker, here we go again. This time in Guelph, police warned the community of a high-risk offender with a history of violence and breaching court orders was released after pleading guilty to breaching probation. Wow. Police said he posed a danger, especially to women, but less than 2 hours later, he was arrested again. Wow. This is weak Liberal bail law in action. Once again, the Liberals' principle of restraint put a dangerous offender back on the street. Will the Prime Minister finally take public safety seriously and repeal C5 and 75?
Good question. The Honourable Minister of Public Safety.
Mr. Speaker, I think it's important to look at what's in front of us right now as we speak, Mr. Speaker. We have a number of very important legislation that will address just the issue that my friend opposite brought forward. There's Bill C-12 that's going through the Senate, Mr. Speaker. There's Bill C-9. There's Bill C-14, which speaks to bail reform as well as ensuring that there's consecutive sentencing, and there's also Bill C-16. Again, I ask the members opposite to pass this legislation and make sure this becomes law.
Yeah. The Honourable Member for Brantford, Brant South, Six Nations.
Mr. Speaker, this dangerous release happened for only one reason. Liberal soft on crime laws are still on the books, and this government refuses to repeal them. True. Time after time, Liberal laws put repeat violent offenders back on the street, ignore police warnings, and put Canadians in harm's way. Conservatives, on the other hand, are ready to work with anyone in this House to put public safety first and end these dangerous policies.
The Liberals keep bringing up the fact that they've got this in the new bills. They don't, because C-14 does not address this problem at all.
100%. Will the Prime Minister finally get serious about public safety and work with us to repeal these laws? Yes or no?
The Honourable Minister of Justice.
Dangerous people who commit serious crimes should not be allowed to roam freely in our streets where they can reoffend. Now, Mr. Speaker.
The Honourable Minister can start again.
Mr. Speaker, they're going to regret their applause in a moment, I can assure you. And it's because when the member posed the question, he blamed the principle of restraint. Let me tell you something about the principle of restraint. That is the subject of a change in Bill C-14, the Bail and Sentencing Reform Act, that the Conservatives have been obstructing for months. Despite calls from law enforcement, from provincial governments, from municipalities, from experts in their field, they have been getting in the way.
Because he's lying. That's why they're yelling. He's lying about Bill C-14, and he's lying about what they're doing in committee.
This is supposed to be an exchange of ideas. The minister can make.
No, it's supposed to be a question period and answer period.
Bail reform in this country, we've finally seen a spirit of collaboration. My only hope is a spirit that their leader seemed to embody during his opening remarks at this session will be what carries the day instead of the nonsense we're seeing today in the House.
The Honourable Member for Central Newfoundland.
On January 27th, Charlottetown police responded to a violent home invasion involving assault, an imitation firearm, and chemical irritant. 2 individuals known to the victims were arrested. One of the accused is facing multiple charges, including, with no surprise, failure to comply with conditions of release and probation. Wow. The Liberal soft-on-crime principle of restraint continues to put dangerous offenders back on the street. So will this government repeal C5 and C75 so that Canadians can once again feel safe in their home?
The Secretary of State for Combating Crime.
Mr. Speaker, since taking government, we've had a tough on-crime agenda.
Right.
We have 6 different bills going through this House right now that are all tackling the situations that the member has been mentioning. It's been 8 months since we put in place C2, and we've been waiting on the Conservatives for their cooperation to pass lawful access measures, which would help police in their investigations. We've been asking for help on cracking down on fentanyl, Mr. Speaker, and tackling organized crime.
What's the use in doing all that if you're just going to release them back onto the streets, which none of the legislation still addresses?
They've been stalling and they've been obstructing all along. I hope they'll get on board and work with us.
The Honourable Member for Vaughan Woodbridge.
Last week, a man in Woodbridge was gunned down in broad daylight. This week, a home in Vaughan was targeted for a shooting for the 4th time in 5 months. Now, the York Region Police Chief has said they will not participate in the federal Liberal government's gun grab because it does not address the underlying sources of gun crime. Most provinces and territories have opted out. Dozens of police services have now refused to participate. So, with little support from the police and provinces, will the Liberal government finally end this ideologically driven scheme and focus on stopping illegal guns and repeat violent offenders?
Good question. The Honourable Minister of Public Safety.
Mr. Speaker, last week when the Prime Minister met with First Ministers across Canada, all 13 of them unanimously asked for this House to pass Bill C-14, Mr. Speaker. The party opposite is talking about tough on crime, but they refuse to pass the legislation that's required for bail reform. That's going to make consecutive sentences. That's going to ensure the safety and security of Canadians, Mr. Speaker. Enough talk and we need action, Mr. Speaker. I urge the party opposite to pass Bill C-14.
Honourable Member for Long Range Mountain.
Mr. Speaker, while violent crime and extortion continue to rise across Canada, this government keeps targeting law-abiding Canadians instead of criminals. Most provinces and territories have told the government they will not participate in the Liberal gun buyback. In Newfoundland and Labrador, the Premier has been clear. The Liberals, and I quote, should focus on criminals, not law-abiding hunters and our way of life. Dozens of police services have said they will not help carry out this program. Even the minister responsible admitted in private this was a bad idea. Will the Liberals end this wasteful scheme, stop the gun grab that punishes law-abiding Canadians?
The Honourable Secretary of State for Combating Crime.
Mr. Speaker, like I said before, when it comes to food inflation as well, responsible governments do more. That is why we're also seeing an uptake and people wanting to surrender their prohibited weapons. Over 22,000 people have signed up to get their guns out of our communities. That's progress, Mr. Speaker, but also in addition to that, we've put major investments into our borders to catch illegal guns and get them off our streets. We've also put forward measures in our legislation to help the police catch criminals and help them with their investigations. But the Conservatives have been obstructing all of those measures, Mr. Speaker. I'd ask them to allow C2 to come to a vote.
The honourable member for Brampton Centre.
Mr. Speaker, from rank and file officers to police chiefs, law enforcement from across Canada has asked Parliament to quickly pass Bill C-14, the Bail and Sentencing Reform Act, to better address repeat violent offenders. From my own community of Brampton, Mayor Patrick Brown and Peel Regional Police commend the government for their work for listening to our communities. Can the Minister of Justice explain how Bill C-14, the Bail and Sentencing Reform Act, delivers on those requests and protects communities?
The Honourable Minister of Justice.
Mr. Speaker, I'd like to thank my colleague for her question and for her advocacy for stronger criminal laws to help protect her community. The reason that members of her community are commending this bill is because they see the feedback that they provided in the process reflected in the text of the bill. It was through feedback from law enforcement that we figured out how to best deal with violent repeat criminals when bail hearings come up. It was through engagement with provincial governments we better understood how we can improve the process of bail hearings and sentencing. I want to thank in particular Mayor Patrick Brown for his advocacy for tougher criminal laws. By working together with provinces, with municipalities and law enforcement, we can build safer communities for every Canadian.
Very good. The honourable member for Kildonan St. Paul.
Canada's economy is on life support and the country is in recession watch, Mr. Speaker. That is the international headlines in Bloomberg. GDP per capita was essentially flat in 2025, and the Bank of Canada expects just 1.1% growth next year. Businesses are postponing expansion, investment is forecast to be weak, and this is very bad news for Canada's jobs. We need a significant transformational plan, but none appears in this legislative agenda from this government. When will they introduce a plan to keep Canadians out of a recession, Mr. Speaker?
Honorable Ministre de l'Industrie.
Mr. Speaker, I have a lot of time and respect for my colleague, but she's not referring to all the important data, because the data shows that there's been increase in wages year over year, 3.4%, while the inflation was at 2.4%. So basically, wages are increasing more than inflation. And at the same time, in December, the Bank of Canada maintained its interest rates to 2.25%, and the governor mentioned that the economy was proving resilient. We have created 189,000 jobs more than the U.S., Mr. Speaker.
The honourable member for Kildonan St. Paul.
The bottom line is, Mr. Speaker, the threat of a recession is real, and nothing this government has done is going to address the economic issues we're facing. StatsCan reports manufacturing is being deeply impacted. In November alone, GDP fell 12.6% in the auto sector. That's thousands of layoffs already. Without significant action to grow the economy and protect Canadian jobs, Canada could very well fall into a recession.
Actually, as of today, the stats on Canada's GDP growth is at 0.0%, which is, I guess, is better than, negative growth. But that's the result of the Liberal economy.
Conservatives have proposed lower taxes, removing barriers so that we can grow faster than ever, and cutting red tape. So when will the government see a real plan to ward off recession and protect Canadian jobs from this government?
The Honourable Secretary of State for Financial Institutions.
Mr. Speaker, Canadians can't cast that Conservative leader's slogans. Last week, we announced a Canada Groceries and Essentials benefit that will put up to $1,900 in the pockets of working families. Mr. Speaker, on this side of the House, we have a leader with world-class business and economic experience. Their leaders never had a job in the economy. Thank you, Mr. Speaker.
The honourable member for York-Durham.
Economists said yesterday that the Canadian economy is on life support. And while the Liberals may clap like trained seals for lower rates, those lower rates are not resulting in more growth. Respectfully, a GST rebate will not revive this patient. The emissions cap, the shipping ban, and other anti-development laws are binding the hands of Canadians that would build our country. So why won't the Prime Minister have the courage to stand up and remove them?
The Honourable Minister
Mr.
for Natural
Speaker, let me offer
Resources.
some good news. The CER just announced the Gordon to Taylorville pipeline is being built. The CER just announced support for the Sunrise pipeline. The pipe mill in Regina is opening to build pipe again. We are building Canada strong.
The Honourable Member for York Durham.
The Minister enjoys illusions because the Major Projects Office has not given approval to one project yet. Instead, let me give him some other news. BNN Bloomberg reported that my home province of Ontario is the sick man of Canada, with lower standards of living than anywhere else in the country. In fact, by every objective measure, Ontario is doing worse now than it did when the Prime Minister was elected. And that is increasingly because they cannot get a deal with the United States. That's a serious question, and it deserves a serious answer. Prime Minister, why is there no plan to deal with the U.S.?
The Honourable Minister of Natural Resources.
Mr. Speaker, I'll invite the member opposite to come to Darlington, where we're building the first SMRs in the G7, creating thousands of jobs, thousands of jobs, thousands of jobs. We are a leader. We are building Canada strong.
The Honourable Member for York Centre.
New research from Rosenberg says Canada's economy is on life support. Per capita GDP is falling, construction's flat, and the economy may shrink by 0.5%. Food inflation is out of control, and billions of dollars are fleeing south. Because of these Liberals, Canada is now on a recession watch. Conservatives are ready to work with the government to repeal anti-development laws to get our economy going. So will the Prime Minister work with us to build big and build quickly, or will his legacy be one of the worst economies in recent history?
The Honourable Parliamentary Secretary.
Mr. Speaker, I call on Conservatives, yes, to work with us, and we can work together for the betterment of this country, Mr. Speaker. What did we see yesterday? If they don't want to listen to Liberals, that's fine. They should listen to Prime Minister Harper, who called on us in a moment of crisis, a moment of rupture for this country, to do what's right for Canada. We have an opportunity. We saw the Conservatives support the Essentials benefit. Will they support now the budget that can support his community and mine and all of ours? It's up to them. What are we going to do?
Honourable Member for York Centre.
Almost a year since the election, the Prime Minister should be judged not by his words, but by his actions. He didn't get a trade deal. He doubled the deficit. No new pipelines approved. Interprovincial trade barriers remain. We have the highest food inflation in the G7, with 2.2 million Canadians at the food bank. We need to start building pipelines and sell Canadian energy.
Hear, hear.
So will the Prime Minister work with us to repeal Liberal anti-development laws, or will Canadians continue to suffer a Liberal economy that is on life support?
The Honourable Government House Leader.
Well, Mr. Speaker, there's a plan in front of this House to create $1 trillion of investment in Canada. There's a plan before this House to continue to build the kind of infrastructure that my colleague just referred to. There's a plan before this House that would deregulate, that would free up, that would invest, that would make Canada the most attractive tax investment destination in the world. It's called the Budget Implementation Act. If we bring that bill today, will that party support it? Yes or no?
That's a lot of bluster for saying that they're not going to repeal any of the anti-development rules that are still in place.
The Honourable Member for Louis Saint Laurent, Kiwanrock. Mr. Speaker, the prestigious firm Bloomberg has said very clearly that the Canadian economy is on life support and that the country is in recession. That's Bloomberg saying that. In one of the articles, it says that on housing, if we look at recent years, residential housing spending has remained stagnant. Mr. Speaker, Canadians deserve better. We are ready to work with the government in order to lower inflationary taxes. Will this government do that for Canadians who want real results? The Honourable Minister. We are very pleased, Mr. Speaker, that our colleague is offering to work with the government in order to improve the economy, in order to ensure that we are a country with historic foreign investment and domestic investment, in order to create a more resilient and stronger economy, to create jobs in all professions across Canada. I look forward to that support from our colleagues, and I would encourage our colleagues to support the Budget Implementation Act, because that is the plan that my colleague just described. The Honourable Member for Louis Saint-Laurent-Coenrac. Mr. Speaker, Canadians want actual results. They are impatient. These people have been in power for 10 years, but meanwhile, the economy has gotten worse. That's the reality. Food inflation is affecting all Canadian families. We have the worst food inflation in the G7. The minister knows that. He should be ashamed. The Bank of Canada has stated that businesses are delaying their expansion plans, and investment will be low. When will this government take concrete measures and lead to real good results for Canadian families? The Honourable Minister of Industry. Mr. Speaker, as my colleague knows very well, we have a plan, and that plan is called the Budget Implementation Act. For too long, we've been seeing obstruction from the other side, from the Conservatives. During this difficult time, where we know that geopolitics are going through a difficult period, we know that Canadians throughout the country are facing financial difficulties. They expect us to work together. Will the Conservatives vote in favor of the budget? Yes or no? The Honourable Member for Chicoutimi-Le-Fjord. Mr. Speaker, the Prime Minister promised that Canada would see the strongest growth in the G7. 1 year later, nothing has been done to reduce red tape, and no anti-development laws have been repealed. On the contrary, the obstacles are only getting worse. According to Bloomberg, the Canadian economy is now in a recession, and people can feel that. Will the Prime Minister finally bring in a plan which will enable Canadians to build, invest, and work? The Honourable Government House Leader. Mr. Speaker, what people in the Saguenay-Lac-Saint-Jean and elsewhere in Quebec and Canada want is a plan, an economic plan, the Prime Minister's plan, the plan they voted for, the plan that is currently before this House. The Conservatives are constantly blocking this Prime Minister's economic.
Sorry, the Conservatives didn't block you from going on vacation for 3 months during the summer when you could have been putting all these plans together to get stuff done quick. But you didn't. You didn't do that. You took the summer off, and then when people asked you, hey, when are you going to get trade settled with the United States? You said, who cares?
Plan. We are urging them to cooperate with us. We succeeded with C-19. We can help Canadians, and we are urging them to pass Bill C-15 and the Budget Implementation Act, the Prime Minister's plan to build Canada. The Honourable Member for Terrebonne. Mr. Speaker, February is Black History Month, which is an opportunity to pay tribute to the Black Canadians who have built our country and shaped our future. This is the 30th anniversary of the official recognition of Black History Month, and the theme is honoring Black brilliance across generations, from nation builders to tomorrow's visionaries. Can the Minister tell the House why it is important every February to celebrate Black History Month and how the government is promoting it throughout the country? The Honourable Minister of Identity and Culture. Well, first of all, I would just like to state that the member herself, who was elected in Terrebonne and has made history herself by becoming the youngest Black MP in the history of Canada. That is a remarkable accomplishment.
Race is an accomplishment to Liberals.
As she eloquently said, this year we are once again celebrating Black excellence, Black community. We are supporting 85 initiatives to fight racism and support the Black community. Black history is Canada's history.
Member for Foothills.
It is wild to hear the Foreign Affairs Minister claim that they support science when the Liberals are literally attacking agricultural research. They are shutting down research centres in Lacombe, Indian Head, Guelph, Quebec City, Portage-la Prairie, and Cumberland County. Meanwhile, they spend $19 billion on consultants, $33 million on a prison farm, $22 million on beans for women for empowerment in Congo. Why is the Prime Minister dismantling the foundation of Canadian food security just to fund his foreign virtue signaling?
Right on.
The Honourable Minister of Agriculture and Agri-Food.
Thank you, Mr. Speaker. Let's be clear. Science plays an integral role and will continue to play.
Hey, look, it's the guy who went and massacred all the ostriches, who's destroying all the herds and flocks in Canada at the whim of a hat, and destroying our food supply under the guise of safety. That's the guy right there.
Play an integral role in this country for agriculture and agri-food. Mr. Speaker, we are maintaining our research and development presence in every single province, and the department continues to be the largest science service center in this country with 17 sites.
That's right.
By streamlining our research, we are prioritizing high-impact areas, reducing duplication, and better aligning our needs with our ranchers and farmers across this country. Thank you, Mr. Speaker.
The Honourable Member for Regina Capel.
Not maintaining their cutting and shutting. Workers at the Indian Head Agricultural Research Farm are the latest to lose their jobs thanks to this Liberal government. This research centre provides cutting-edge innovation on soil management, crop varieties, and disease and pest resiliency. It provides jobs for Canadian scientists, improves Canadian crop production to the benefit of Canadian farmers. Meanwhile, the Liberals have sent hundreds of millions of Canadian tax dollars overseas for stupid, ideologically driven pet projects like $8 million for gender-just rice farming in Vietnam. Instead of closing Canadian research centres that benefit Canadians, why not stop the phony foreign aid project?
The Honourable Minister of Agriculture, the Honourable Minister of Agriculture and Agri-Food.
Mr. Speaker. Mr. Speaker, I'm not sure if that member's memory serves him correct, but I'll go back to 2011 and 2012. That may jog his memory a little bit. A focused agriculture research presence should move away from scattered, soiled research, siloed projects and toward a mission-driven, outcome-oriented system that treats food production as a cornerstone of national security, economic resilience, and climate adaptation. This is what we're hearing from our stakeholders. We're going to move agriculture forward, and we're going to make science and research a big part of it. Thank you, Mr. Speaker.
Honourable Member for Ponoka Dinsbury.
Mr. Speaker, the Liberals have repeatedly told Canadians to trust the science, but now they're firing the very scientists who help feed Canadians. The government is shutting down 7 agriculture research centres across Canada, including the storied one in Lacombe. Meanwhile, the Liberals will waste $742 million on a gun grab that police say will do nothing. $742 million would keep the Lacombe Research Station open for 40 years. With 2.2 million Canadians lining up at the food bank every month, why is this government so hell-bent on wasting cash on programs that experts say will not work and killing the programs that the experts say will?
The Honourable Minister of Agriculture and Agri-Food.
Mr. Speaker, from talking to stakeholders across this country, we have a real opportunity. We even advance our research, and we'll continue to do that. The department continues to be the largest agriculture research in Canada, but this opportunity for transformation in the research sector is most prominent in our agriculture and agri-food divisions, Mr. Speaker. We're going to continue to invest in agriculture and agri-research, partner with our academias, talk to our stakeholders, and move forward with the best science in the world as we have today.
That's great. The Honourable Member for Carleton.
Mr. Speaker, residents in my riding of Carleton want to know what this government is doing to improve affordability. There is good news, Mr. Speaker. Can the Secretary of...
Wait. The member is attracting all kinds of extraneous noise there. We'll let the member start from the top.
Thank you, Mr. Speaker. Residents of my riding of Carleton are looking for serious leadership. They're also wanting to see what this government is doing to improve affordability in this country. There's good news, Mr.
Can't hear a thing. Can't hear a thing. Can't hear a thing. We wanted to get out of here early today, but okay, we'll give it. We'll try again. We'll try again. We'll try again. We're making progress. We're making progress. The honourable member for Carleton from the top, please.
Mr. Speaker, thank you. This is why Conservatives keep losing. Residents in Carleton want to know what this government is doing to improve the affordability of food. There is good news, Mr. Speaker. Can the Secretary of State for CRA and financial institutions please inform this House of important measures the government is taking to improve affordability for Canadians?
The Secretary of State for Financial Institutions.
Mr. Speaker, it's so nice to finally see real representation in Carleton. Conservative slogans don't feed families. That's why we cut taxes for 22 million Canadians. We cut the consumer carbon tax, and last week we announced a groceries and essentials benefit that will put up to $1,900 in the pockets of working families. It's time for that party, that leader, to stop the rhetoric, stop the slogans, and join us to build Canada strong. Thank you.
The honourable member for Swift Current Grasslands Kindersley.
Speaker, the Prime Minister has admitted that a country that cannot feed itself has few options. However, this Liberal government's closing 7 agriculture research facilities. The research and development has a 35-to-1 return on investment for taxpayers. It's also crucial for growing crops to feed Canada and the rest of the world, despite our harsh climate. With 2.2 million Canadians lining up at food banks every month, does the Prime Minister seriously think that it's a good idea to cut valuable research into how we can grow more food here in Canada?
The Honourable Minister of Agriculture and Agri-Food.
Mr. Speaker, we've heard around, when I've traveled around the country, I've heard many times that we can do better in research and development. We'll continue to build on that, Mr. Speaker. We'll listen to the professionals in this regard, Mr. Speaker. We're not going to go down the path, Mr. Speaker, of not having science in this country. It's extremely important to our trade, Mr. Speaker. It's extremely important to our agriculture and agri-food communities, and we're going to continue to build on that. Thank you, Mr. Speaker.
The honourable member for Nunavut.
Successive Liberal and Conservative governments have bungled fighter jet procurement for decades. Now, with Donald Trump threatening Canada's sovereignty and our NATO allies, New Democrats call on the Prime Minister to cancel all F-35 contracts and commit to purchasing the Swedish Saab Gripen. The Prime Minister promised to make Canada less reliant on American military. Will the Prime Minister make the switch, or does his Davos speech mean nothing?
Hear, hear.
So calling to scrap a 5th-generation fighter to buy a 4th-generation fighter is exactly what I would expect from socialists like the NDP. That's like deciding not to buy the F-18 back in 1980 and deciding just to buy more voodoos. My God, these people are ridiculous.
The Honourable Minister of National Defence.
Speaker, as part of our generational investments in the Canadian Armed Forces, we are procuring a new fleet of fighter aircraft for the Royal Canadian Air Force. We review all procurement approaches to align with the best interests of Canadians and the needs of the Canadian Armed Forces. We are committed to procuring what the Air Force needs while ensuring economic benefits for Canadians. And that is exactly what we'll do.
I wish to draw the attention of members to the presence in the gallery of the Honourable Kelly Green, Minister of Emergency Management and Climate Readiness of British Columbia. It being 3:14, the House will now proceed to the taking of the deferred recorded division on the motion of Mr. Berthold relating to the business of supply. Call in the members.
All right. That's the end of question period. So recognizing somebody up in the gallery there from BC from a ministry position of climate readiness, realize how ridiculous that sounds? That's like having a ministerial position in charge of the weather. Seriously, climate readiness. We used to have typical normal infrastructure in Canada to be prepared for regular weather events. That's what that is. It's called weather. You can't control the bloody weather. So all you do is you be prepared for it, like we always have been. But these far lefties are just insane. Well, it's good to see the agricultural minister be put on the spot regards to what they were cutting. But of course, there's plenty wrong with the CFIA. Of course, they could have talked about something else, but they never do. They just keep hammering the same points over and over again. And I am disappointed today that not a single MP brought up the fact that they are going to be hiding vaccine records for 15 bloody years. It's 2 days now. This was released before the House sat yesterday. Now it's in the second day, still nothing. What is going on? You cowardly conservatives, I'm calling you guys out. You're a bunch of cowards. You guys being afraid to say anything about it. I'm going to keep calling you out every single day till somebody says something about that. All right. Well, thank you all for coming out. Please like, share, subscribe. And on our way out, what do I have lined up? Ah, yes. Let's go out with something from the CCFR, the gun grab Gary. We played this yesterday. We'll play this on the way out. And we'll see you tomorrow. Bye-bye. Let's bring this up here.
Finance Minister promised in October 2023 that food prices would stabilize soon, and that the Prime Minister stated in May 2025 that he would be judging prices at the grocery store, and that, one,
somebody get these dudes a handbook.
Canadians face the highest food inflation in 7
Gun grab Gary got a press crew, zero facts, talking about bandits, bandad, flipping all the stack. You don't know our pal from a cereal pack. Think pal is a buddy that just has your back. You confuse ATT with an SUV. Say assault style scary on the CBC. You see a lock safe, you call that a crime scene. I see test background checks daily, RCMP screen. Alberta said hard pass, sent it in ink. Saskatchewan too told you what they really think. You planned a big grab, thought we'd all just blink. The province is bailing like that registry stink. You brag we're coming to collect, talking real bold. Till you learn this license, folks, that you trying to scold. It's grandpa's duck gun, 5 rounds plug low. Not the criminals, the justice system already knows. Gun grab Gary, you don't know the code. Can't spell lawfare, but you run the show. Confiscation, Carney lost on the road. Talk big on screens, never read the law though. CCFR, yeah, they speak our peace. Voice for the folks that just want some peace. From range to field, we comply and repeat. You chase headlines, they deal with receipts. Confiscation, Carney on a town hall stage. PowerPoint charts, fear in the cage. Point to a picture, this looks like war. That's a target rifle champ with a match grade core. You love that photo op vest, wanna look real tough, but you flinch every time the flash go puff. You say just turn them in, it's a simple task. Then choke when the bill hits, do the budget math. Toronto police look sideways like who pays? OPP read the memo trying to dodge that maze. You pass the blame around 9 whole ways, but the street crews laugh. Still set they plays. You chase guys who book lanes, sign a waiver sheet, check locks twice, sweep brass, keep the benches neat. Meanwhile, no plan for the ones who cheat. Just one more press hit, then you hit repeat. Gun grab Gary, you don't know the code. Can't say Ruger, but you run your show. Confiscation, Carney lost on the road. Talk big on screens, never read the law though. CCFR, yeah, they speak our peace. Voice for the folks that just want some peace. From range to field, we comply and repeat. You chase headlines, they deal with receipts. You ban by brochure, legislate by mean. We study every clause just to keep it clean. You chase the law abiding, frame them on the screen, but facts don't bend just to match your scheme. Gun grab Gary, you don't know the code. Can't spell or pale, but you run your show. Confiscation, Carney lost on the road. Talk big, never read the law though. CCFR, yeah, they speak our peace. Voice for the folks that just want some peace. From range to field, we comply and repeat. You chase headlines, they deal with receipts. Yeah.
when we asked him to accelerate and pass C-19.
Mr. Speaker, if the Prime Minister is going to dodge questions, you better find someone better than that.
If the Conservatives want the truth, we'll tell them the truth.
Speech yesterday from the Prime Minister really freaked these Conservatives out because they saw the ambition in that speech. And not only did they see it in that speech today, as the Prime Minister stood with the Premier investing in new nuclear to ensure the jobs of today and the future, they know that the youth...
The only thing that's revolting are those answers.
Speaker, we will take no lessons from these Conservatives. Trust me on that.
The Minister didn't write the Prime Minister's speech yesterday because it wouldn't have bored and depressed to tears.
It's really hard to follow, isn't it, Mr. Speaker?
All of those poor students stuck in that room. There he spoke about how they would have to sacrifice more and that it would take time to reverse all of the misery that is built up over the last 10 years. Mr. Speaker, young people want to have homes. They want to have jobs. They want to have hope. They want a budget that is affordable so they can have a life that is affordable. Will the Prime Minister introduce that budget so that Canadians can restore the promise of their country?
And we decide what comes next.
Know that this government has their back and we will continue to do it. There's going to be a powerful statement for the young people of Canada.
Deficits are driving inflation. The more Liberals spend, the more it costs Canadians at the grocery store. 25% of Canadians are using food banks because they can't afford to eat. So when will the Prime Minister finally get his inflationary deficits under control so Canadians can put food on the table?
Mr. Speaker, Conservative members pretend to care about food insecurity, but then they call feeding children garbage.
Mr. Speaker, what's garbage was that answer?
Did the Prime Minister see the ad before it went out?
Of course there are too many people living in poverty in Canada, but there are significant initiatives being put in place by this government.
Being serious means being honest.
Mr. Speaker, the grand reveal has been made.
Canada's economy is in fact growing, Mr. Speaker.
The new world order.